Most people open their Bible to Matthew chapter 1 and skip straight to verse 18. And honestly, that's understandable. A list of names you can't pronounce doesn't exactly feel like a word from God. But here's what most people miss. Matthew didn't open his entire gospel with a genealogy by accident. He opened with it on purpose. Because hidden inside this list of forgotten names is one of the most radical things Jesus ever said about who God chooses. Let's actually read it. Matthew 1, verse 1. This is the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Two names, David and Abraham. Matthew isn't just listing ancestry. He's making a legal and theological argument in a single sentence. To a Jewish reader in the first century, son of David meant one thing: king. The long-promised king from the line of David. And son of Abraham meant something even older. The fulfillment of a covenant God made thousands of years earlier when he told a man with no children that through his offspring, all nations on earth would be blessed. Matthew is saying the promise is here. The wait is over. Then he lists the generations: Abraham to David, David to the Babylonian exile, and the exile to Jesus. 3 sections, 14 generations each. And then he includes something that would have stopped his original readers cold. In a culture where genealogies almost never named women, Matthew names 4 of them. Not 4 queens, not 4 saints. Tamar, a woman who disguised herself as a prostitute to get justice after being wronged by her own father-in-law. Rahab, an actual prostitute, a Canaanite. A woman from a nation Israel was commanded to defeat, who hid the spies and tied a red cord in her window as her only act of faith. Ruth, a Moabite widow, technically a foreigner. Someone who by every cultural rule of her day had no claim on the God of Israel, who walked toward him anyway. And then Matthew writes it like this: David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. He doesn't even say Bathsheba's name. He reminds you of the man David had killed to take her. Think about what Matthew is doing here. He could have left all 4 women out. Most genealogies did. Instead, he puts them front and center. 4 women whose stories involve scandal, loss, foreign blood, and broken circumstances, and says, this is the line God chose. Not despite the mess, through it. There's one more detail buried in this list that almost no one catches. In verse 11, Matthew mentions Jeconiah, also known as Jehoiakim, king of Judah. In Jeremiah 22, God pronounced a curse over Jeconiah. No descendant of his would ever sit on David's throne and prosper. A dead end, written into the royal bloodline. And yet there he is, in the lineage of Jesus. How does Matthew resolve this? He doesn't sidestep it. He shows you. Joseph, the legal father of Jesus, carries the royal line through Jeconiah, which gives Jesus his legal claim to David's throne. But Jesus' biological line runs through Mary, through a different branch of David's descendants entirely, one not under the curse. Matthew is showing you that God doesn't get blocked by human failures. He doesn't get boxed in by our dead ends. He routes around them. Even a prophetic curse becomes a problem that God already had a solution to before the curse was ever spoken. If you're finding depth in this kind of teaching, the kind that doesn't just skim the surface, consider subscribing. New videos here every week, going deeper into the Word than you might expect. It's free, and it might be exactly what you need. He's saying, the story of Jesus didn't begin in a manger. It began in a promise. It ran through the faithfulness of ordinary people, through the failures of kings, through women who had no reason to be there, through a curse that should have been a dead end, and it arrived exactly where God said it would. 14, 14, 14. 3 perfect sets of 14 generations. Matthew is showing you a God who is precise, who is keeping count, who doesn't lose track of the thread even when the thread runs through the darkest possible places. Here's what this means for you. Your name is not in Matthew 1, but your story isn't so different from the ones that are. Tamar fought for dignity in circumstances no one should have faced. Rahab made one act of faith with a red cord, and it echoed through history. Ruth chose a God she wasn't born into and never looked back. David failed in the worst possible way, and his line still carried the king. You don't have to be clean to be chosen. You don't have to be without a past. You don't have to have it figured out. God has a pattern of using the unlikely, the broken, the foreign, the fallen, not as an exception to his plan, but as the evidence of it. The genealogy of Jesus isn't a list of names nobody cares about. It's a list of people just like you, and it ends with him.